crowd was buzzing, the cameras were rolling, and everyone was holding their breath as the envelope was opened, and when the words came out, and the winner is Caitlin Clark, the arena erupted, because no one draws more attention, more energy, or more pure excitement than she does. And yet, in the very moment her star was shining at its brightest, an unexpected twist began to unfold, a twist so shocking and so deeply personal that Sophie Cunningham broke her silence. Lexi Hull followed with an emotional message, and suddenly, what should have been a celebration turned into a story that left fans across the WNBA holding their breath. Because these three women, bound by one of the strongest connections in the league, had just revealed something that changes everything, taking us from triumph to heartbreak in a matter of days. And now, the entire Indiana Fever finds itself at the center of an emotional storm that no one saw coming. The 17th of July, 2025, was supposed to be a date burned into basketball history for all the right reasons. Because Indianapolis wasn't just hosting the WNBA All-Star Weekend, it was welcoming home the player who had become the city's heartbeat, Caitlin Clark. And from the moment the announcement was made, every hotel in the city was booked, every ticket was gone in minutes, and every street banner carried her name. Because fans weren't just showing up for a game, they were coming to witness a moment, a celebration of a 2-3-year-old sensation who had stormed the league and turned the Indiana Fever into must-watch basketball, a player whose record-breaking run at Iowa had already made her a legend in college hoops, but whose fearless leap into the WNBA proved she wasn't just another rookie, she was the future. And in only her second season, she wasn't just competing with the league's best. She was outshining them, a fact that became undeniable when earlier that month she was crowned WNBA Player of the Year at the ESPYs, beating out giants like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson. And in that moment, the basketball world knew her time wasn't coming, it was here. So when All-Star Weekend approached, she wasn't just a participant, she was the headline. The favorite to dominate the three-point contest, the captain for the All-Star game, the player everyone had already written the perfect story around. But just as the stage was set and the narrative was ready to be lived, a twist no one saw coming was about to shatter it all. Only days after lifting one of the highest honors in the sport, Caitlin Clark stunned the basketball world by announcing she was pulling out of the entire All-Star Weekend, no three-point contest, no All-Star game, no magical moment in front of her home crowd, and the news hit like a thunderclap. Because just a week earlier, she had been moving at full speed, but during a hard-fought matchup against the Connecticut Sun, fans noticed her steps were slower, her face twisted in discomfort, and then came the moment that made everyone's stomach drop as she clutched her side and limped toward the bench. And while at first it looked like simple fatigue, whispers quickly turned into concern. When it was revealed she had aggravated a groin injury she'd been carefully managing for weeks, an injury her coach, Stephanie White, promised would be monitored closely, but no one expected the result would be this devastating. And when the official announcement came on the 17th of July, the timing felt cruel. Indy was ready to celebrate their star, but now she would be on the sidelines, her statement short yet heartfelt, with a few words and a heart emoji telling fans she was just as disappointed as they were, but that protecting her health came first. And though it meant sacrificing the spotlight, she made it clear she would still be there, cheering with the same fire she brings on the court. A decision that was mature, selfless, and heartbreaking all at once, leaving fans and reporters asking the same question: how could something so perfect unravel so fast? And was there more to the story than anyone realized? With Caitlin Clark forced to step aside, the league didn't have to look far for someone to fill her place, because standing right there in the same locker room was her Indiana Fever teammate, Lexi Hull, a quiet but deadly force from beyond the arc. One of the most accurate three-point shooters in the entire WNBA this season, and the perfect choice to step into the contest. But what the public didn't know was that Lexi was carrying a heartbreak of her own, because just days before the announcement, she lost her beloved dog Maggie, a companion who had been with her for 14 years through high school exams, college championships, and every move from city to city. And for Lexi, this wasn't just a pet, it was family. So when she shared the news on social media with a black and white photo and the simple, gut-wrenching words, the sweetest mags, home won't be the same without you. The floodgates opened. Thousands of fans poured in with condolences, but the two replies that stood out came from her own team, Caitlin Clark, with a simple "love you" that said everything without saying much at all. And Sophie Cunningham, who wrote, "No, Lex, I'm so sorry." Because in a league built on fierce competition, these moments reminded everyone that this was more than just a team. It was a sisterhood, one that celebrated each other's highs but never left anyone to face the lows alone. And now, as Lexi prepared to step into the spotlight with a heavy heart, and Caitlin prepared to cheer from the bench instead of dominating on the court, fans were starting to realize this story wasn't just about basketball. It was about loyalty, love, and the kind of bond that can't be broken by injury or loss. Sophie Cunningham isn't just known for her relentless defense or her ability to get under an opponent's skin. She's known for having her teammates' backs like no one else in the league. And earlier this season, when Caitlin Clark took a brutal hit during a game, it wasn't a referee, it wasn't a coach, it wasn't even security who reacted first. It was Sophie, charging in without hesitation to defend her teammate. And that fire earned her a fine from the league, but endless praise from fans who saw her not just as a player, but as a protector, a leader, and the kind of teammate every star needs. And it didn't stop there, because when Lexi Hull was grieving the loss of Maggie, Sophie was there too. Not making it a public display, but checking in, lifting her up, and quietly taking on the role of big sister, making sure neither Caitlin nor Lexi ever felt alone in the storm. And this loyalty didn't go unnoticed. Fans saw the chemistry between the three women and gave them a name, Tres Leches, a playful nod to the famous dessert, but also a perfect symbol of their blend of sweetness, strength, and individuality. And Sophie leaned into it completely, even wearing a custom shirt with cartoon versions of all three of them that went viral in hours and turned into a fan favorite. But behind the fun and the merch was something deeper, because this wasn't just branding, it was proof that what they had wasn't manufactured by PR or forced by the game. It was real friendship, the kind of connection that survives wins, losses, injuries, and heartbreak. And in the Indiana Fever's world, Sophie wasn't just playing her position, she was holding the entire emotional core together. Sophie Cunningham didn't come to Indiana looking for comfort, she came looking for a challenge. And after 6 intense seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, where the routines were familiar and the roles already carved in stone, she felt that fire that once drove her to dive for loose balls and outwork everyone in the gym start to fade. So she made the bold decision to join a young, hungry Indiana Fever roster in a city desperate for revival. And from the moment she arrived, she roared in with the same sharp tongue, fearless energy, and competitive edge that had defined her since her high school days in Missouri, where she bulldozed her way through 4 straight state championships. Then carried that momentum to Missouri's college program with 129 consecutive starts, over 2,000 points, and a reputation for playing like every possession was personal. And that same relentlessness made her an instant emotional anchor for Indiana, especially as Caitlin Clark's star power exploded. But while Sophie was fire, Lexi Hull brought precision, the silent killer who didn't need headlines to prove her worth. Drafted 6th overall by the Fever in 2022, after leaving her mark at Stanford with Pac-12 championships, Final Four runs, and a 2021 national title that silenced every doubter who thought she'd go late in the first round. And on the court, she delivered double-doubles, lockdown defense, and clutch shooting with machine-like consistency, her biggest performances coming when the stakes were highest. And even though Sophie's style was bold and Lexi's was methodical, together they created an unshakable balance. 2 very different players with one shared understanding of what it meant to carry the weight of a team without asking for credit. And when Caitlin Clark arrived, a generational talent with the eyes of the entire league on her, it was Sophie who protected her and Lexi who steadied her, forming the foundation that made Tres Leches more than just a nickname. It made them the heartbeat of the Indiana Fever. What made Tres Leches unshakable wasn't just their skills on the court, it was the moments no camera caught, the ones that revealed exactly why this trio worked. Because when Caitlin Clark, fresh off winning the biggest award of her career, found out she would miss the All-Star weekend she had dreamed about for years, the disappointment hit like a punch to the gut. But before the headlines even broke, Sophie Cunningham was there, not with rehearsed pep talks or empty encouragement, but with the kind of steady, protective energy only a true friend can give, cracking jokes to keep her smiling, checking in with simple, "You good?" texts that meant more than paragraphs, and reminding her that an injury might slow her down, but it couldn't dim her light. Meanwhile, Lexi Hull was fighting her own private heartbreak, still grieving Maggie's loss, but never letting her pain stop her from showing up for her teammates, offering Caitlin quiet words of support that cut through the noise, proving that even when you're hurting, you can still be the reason someone else finds their strength again. This was the heartbeat of the Fever 3 women carrying each other when it mattered most. Not in grand, dramatic gestures, but in the small, consistent acts of loyalty that fans could feel every time they took the floor together. Because what united them wasn't just the pursuit of a championship, it was an unspoken promise. No one faces the storm alone. Before Sophie Cunningham's arrival, the Indiana Fever were a team with talent, but without a clear heartbeat, a roster full of potential that hadn't yet found its rhythm or identity. But the moment she stepped into that locker room, things began to shift. Not because she gave fiery speeches or tried to dominate the spotlight, but because she showed up every single day with consistency, checking in on teammates, turning tense moments into laughter, and creating an atmosphere where players weren't just athletes, they were people who mattered, and that ripple effect changed everything. Lexi Hull, once seen as a utility player, began thriving in that environment. Her three-point accuracy climbing to near 49% as she played with a confidence that only comes when you feel truly supported. And even when Caitlin Clark's injury threatened to derail the team's momentum, the Fever didn't crumble. Instead, they tightened, their trust deepened, and roles became sharper, proving that what they'd built went beyond any one player. Fans began to notice too, not because of highlight reels, but because of the way these women moved together on and off the court. Every shared glance, every unspoken handoff, every moment of trust becoming part of the Fever's new DNA. And the Tres Leches bond wasn't just lifting them, it was lifting the entire franchise into something bigger than basketball. What started as a playful nickname from fans quickly became a symbol of something far deeper. Because Tres Leches wasn't just a catchy phrase, it represented community, loyalty, and joy. And the proof was everywhere. From the viral custom shirt Sophie Cunningham wore with cartoon versions of the trio, to the fan-made artwork, highlight reels, and memes that flooded social media, selling out merch in hours, not because of a logo, but because people felt connected to what it stood for. This wasn't PR magic or marketing spin, it was authenticity, the kind of real bond that fans could see in every high five, every sideline celebration, every silent nod during crunch time, and the impact went beyond just 3 players. Younger teammates started mirroring that same energy, veterans around the league took notice, and suddenly, free agents were looking at Indianapolis not just for the basketball, but for the culture, a place where you were valued as a person first, a player second, and where winning wasn't the only goal, because building each other up mattered just as much. Tres Leches became more than a friendship. It became the heart of the Indiana Fever, a living, breathing reminder that talent wins games, but trust and love build legacies. As the Indiana Fever push forward, there's a momentum surrounding this team that can't be measured in standings or stats, a pulse that beats through every pass, every defensive stand, and every moment these women share on and off the court. And at the center of it all are Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull, the Tres Leches trio whose bond has transformed not just a season, but an entire franchise. They've shown the league that leadership isn't always about who scores the most points, that strength isn't just about physical dominance, and that the moments people remember most often happen when the cameras aren't rolling. They've proven that in a sport built on speed and competition, the real game changer is love, loyalty, and the kind of trust that can't be shaken by injury, loss, or pressure. So as the Fever chase their next win, the question isn't just how far they can go, it's how far this unbreakable bond will take them. Because in a league full of stars, the brightest light is the one that shines together.